Premiership Perusal podcast presents Lads on Tour. Can I do a little monologue before we start?
Absolutely.
Well, as we start.
It's our podcast, so I personally give you the right to.
The title of this sub-show was Lads on Tour. In the end, UEFA Euro 2020 / in parentheses 2021 ended up truly like a Lads on Tour trip. Think about it. Month-long holiday in the summer, lots of action, lots of joy, lots of sadness, some goofs, some gaffes. But in the end, you're left disappointed as you leave. All you can think about is the one that got away, who went home with the beautiful Italian man.
Because I was thinking that it was what's the meme line? It's don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm just crying.
We're all, well, not all.
Let's not act like Hank was in full Italy mode.
Oh, we knew from the off where I was. I mean, you can't really hate on Italy too much. I don't think they're a great team.
No, I hate them. I hate them all. They did bad things to me.
That's fair.
Especially Bonucci.
Oh man!
At the end of the game,
it's coming to Rome.
That triggered me.
Oh gosh.
That triggered me very hard.
So this one coming in the final, big implications. We got a lot on the line. I just want to say before the final, I'm just gonna read. It's not necessarily in order, but here's like the main guys that were up for like player of the tournament. You ready for this? Maguire, Sterling, Shaw, Mount, Kane, Verratti, Jorginho, Spinazzola, Insigne, Stones were the main guys. And you would have thought, pretty good bet it's going to be one of them.
Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah. So, starting off, they finally went back to the back three.
Yeah.
They finally did. We thought it would happen the previous round, but they were confident enough that they could just... Their wide players sitting back they're going to get forward enough anyways to where it didn't really matter against Denmark. So England, this time they're like, all right, they're going to have to be a little more closer to Rice and Phillips as opposed to Maguire, Stones, and Walker, even though, as we know, as the game went on, they were just going to sit back anyways. But early on, it's kind of like the formation against Germany.
Yeah, exactly. This just shows that they wanted to use this formation against teams that proved to be a higher threat going forward, like Germany, like Italy. And then they figured that they didn't need it against weaker teams like Ukraine and Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was actually well done to work between the two systems and not have it like super clunky or anything, because it seemed like the players that they have, it just works really well. Then you can slip into that back three.
Well, I mean, there's just
four.
so many versatile players on England's squad, and especially Shaw and Trippier are probably some of the top guys when you think of that. So, I mean, I think during the opening like minute or so, what's his name? Ian Dark mentioned that like Trippier's one of Southgate's main guys, which we've always talked about how he has his certain guys.
Mm-hmm.
Trippier's definitely one of them. But were there any surprises with the lineup, you thought? Did you think maybe they would just stick with the back four since they did the other?
I think the one thing that was surprising, it wasn't the back four, back three. This makes sense to me, seeing as how they went with the back three against Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing would be Saka not starting and having Mount starting instead.
Yeah, because normally when they I guess they tend to have Saka in as when they have the back four, and then once they go with the back three and the two more wide wing backs that are a little more defensive minded, Southgate feels he doesn't necessarily need Saka for whatever reason. He feels that way.
Well,
Because he wants
the one game he didn't start after he started starting games was because of an injury.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I mean, still, even with this, and it kind of makes sense just in like general. You would think it's like, okay, so Saka's more, he's a little more defensive minded when it comes to just in general as a player. So it's like maybe we could get away with one more attacking guy that can push forward because we have more defensive minded players out there to make up. But
yeah,
I don't know. Saka was in such good form coming in; it was hard to justify leaving him off.
Yeah. That makes sense, though. Like, you don't need that much of a defensive work rate when you have a back five.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
As opposed to Italy, who have played the same 4-3-3 system the whole tournament.
Yep.
Of course, they've switched up the personnel a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it's stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah, they really found their main guys. They always had The real question was generally when it came to midfield, it was like, well, where's Verratti going to be when he's coming in? Because Locatelli's playing so well. And then it was, we didn't even really talk about Berardi kind of just being replaced by Chiesa. I mean, Chiesa just completely took over that right wing spot for him. So.
Yeah, that was kind of the only one where the form mattered in terms of switching because Verratti came in after he got fully fit.
Yeah.
And then same with Spinazzola getting injured.
Mm-hmm.
Chiellini missed a game due to injury.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's been the same in terms of form.
Exactly. So it's
just switched to the hot hand in Chiesa.
Exactly. So getting into the game right away, fast pace, England able to break on that counter. It really showed how much quality England have in terms of getting the ball up, and when they do decide to pick up the pace, because they're known kind of for playing slower, especially in this tournament, kind of being a little more cautious, and then right away start off the game. They must have known something that they could catch Italy like that.
Either that or they were just like really up for the match. I don't know, but great play from Luke Shaw. Switch up the play to...
I think it was... Well, because Shaw made a move up the wing to create space, and then he fed Kane, I believe, and then Kane played it all the way to Trippier.
And then Trippier to Shaw.
Shaw at the back post.
Yeah.
The main thing I noticed on that play is just... It wasn't so much the midfield of Italy that got really exposed. It was more the defense because Emerson was so central from where he should have been because they were kind of shifted over to where Shaw's side was, and England went so fast Emerson couldn't cover that space, so Trippier was over there on the ball, and before Emerson could close down on him, Trippier had so much time and space to put a ball in, and even then Italy was still shifting the back. When that ball's in the air, if you freeze frame, Di Lorenzo and Chiellini are both on Kane in the box. No one's on that even back post. And then Shaw's there for...
Yeah, I think that comes down to a couple things. One, the movement in that play was excellent. It was so fluid. Like, Kane was coming back and playing the ball to Trippier, who's going forward.
Yeah,
and
instantly.
Luke Shaw's going forward. And England had to know that where they were going to find success would be out wide, passing the ball in.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that in the Spain game against Italy, with Emerson and Di Lorenzo, who we pointed out as
their weak points.
It was the cliche, like, scored too soon, because they were playing so well, like insanely well.
Yeah, they were. It was actually pretty incredible how fast they were moving. I mean, both teams were moving fast, but England on that play
they
just
were
had
dominating.
It all. Yeah,
easily. I was so surprised. I did not expect that at all.
It took Italy probably until like the 30th minute or so to really actually establish their foothold in the game, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, England was just dominating the possession. They were, like you said, they were playing at a faster pace than what we've seen before.
Yeah.
And it looked really dangerous.
They were almost out-Italying Italy
Yeah.
in terms of like pressing and stuff at times too.
Yep,
In the midfield.
exactly. Going with the press in the midfield and winning back the ball.
Yeah, smart plays where they get the ball, and even if they just go down, they're gonna get a call.
Italy just
and
looked
then
like
just
they
hold
were
the ball.
like stunned, like
Yeah.
didn't know what hit them. They gave up the goal, and then England comes out playing like this. They're pressing.
But then, I mean, it's almost like it really became a matter of England was playing not to lose.
Yes, absolutely. They were
The
so
second
afraid
half-
of conceding.
The second half was so different. End of the first half, Italy had like half chances. There was a couple.
You could tell at the beginning, like in the 30th minute onwards, that's
Yeah.
when it changed.
Yeah, and you would think Southgate would have made some changes to be like, hey, what was working before, that's not going anymore. We're going to have to do something else in terms of whether it's apply even more pressure rather than sit back as much as they started to and stuff. But they didn't really change that much.
Yeah. When I was watching that, I was saying, like, okay, Italy is on the front foot now. Like, and that's
dangerous.
They've applied pressure for 15 minutes in the first half, and then they come out second half, same thing. If you look at the trend of the game, like, this is going in Italy's favor, and it's only a matter of time before they score. So my thoughts on that is you got to take out a defender like Trippier and put in Saka.
Yeah, a guy
'Cause
who
you
can
gotta-
go a little more going forward.
You got to defend with offense. You got to relieve the pressure that is being put on the defense and the midfield by getting more possession, because they were getting like very little possession and just sitting back. And you can't sit back for 60 minutes against a team like Italy.
One guy I noticed for England that was massive in the first 30 minutes when things were going well was Mount.
Yeah.
And then after that, I couldn't find him
Yeah.
on the field. I think that they, whether it's bring on a guy who's maybe slightly less attack-minded, but he's a little more well-rounded in Bellingham. I think that would have been a good decision to bring him on. Or even if you wanted to keep with an attacking guy and just freshen up, and they bring on Grealish instead of Mount. I mean, I don't know. It just it seemed like he was one of the issues going for them. And I agree with the Trippier point is that. But I mean, I agree. But I would have probably just had Saka starting from the get-go, anyways, just because the form. So I would have brought him on as soon as possible. That's my point.
And ultimately, it was too late.
Yeah.
Bonucci scores off of the header.
Yeah, that corner that what was it? It was Chiellini got the
Or was it a
original
header?
one? Or
No,
it was
like
it was
a scram.
Cristante on,
Yes.
and then I think Chiellini whiffed, and then Verratti got like a shot that went, and Pickford saved it onto the post, and it went back to the middle, and
Right.
Bonucci tapped it home.
It was just such a good corner in with the near post run to just
Flick it on and try and
create
create
havoc.
anything.
I mean, at that point, everyone's just scrambling, and that's to the benefit of the attacking team in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, England waits too long, and then they concede, and now you're thinking they got to change something. So then they bring on Saka for Trippier,
Yeah.
and I'm even thinking Kane looks gassed out
Yeah.
there. He's played a lot of minutes. He's played...
No, as he played a lot of minutes, he's doing a striker that has to go back to the midfield constantly to get the ball so he can link up with other players to get it forward for the team. That is so much more than a lot of strikers have to do. That, I mean, he's not... He did have to do it for Tottenham at times. He doesn't have to do it all the time.
And not for like 120 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
For
then
how many
coming
games
off
in a row in a month.
Coming off like a 3 days rest.
Yeah. So
when Italy had an extra day of rest.
So it...
And then, in addition to Kane, I was not impressed with what Sterling was offering.
Yeah.
He just didn't look like the player that we've seen in this tournament where he'd be able to relieve that pressure, at least some of us. He'd be able to at least relieve the pressure with some runs in behind
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't there. I mean,
It's
he played 120 minutes as well.
the
So
thing a lot of people mentioned coming into it was watching for Kane matching up with Bonucci and Chiellini, but I mean, it's not going to be a huge thing only because it's not like Italy are holding the high line, and Kane's so deep for a striker.
yeah,
I think the main thing to watch would be how they kept tabs on Sterling, because that was England's main thing, was getting it out wide and then cutting it in, playing it towards the middle for Sterling or Kane to be their short range. And they did an amazing job centrally of preventing any of that. England was still able to get wide at times this game, obviously by their first goal, but what happened for them wasn't really ever central. There weren't many threats.
yeah. I would have liked to see Grealish come on earlier for Sterling.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. He's been one of the better attackers. I know last game it was kind of weird because he didn't really do much, and then they scored, and I was like, well, we got to take you off. We got to hold this just in case.
Yeah,
So I don't know how much that really affected his confidence. I couldn't imagine it affected a ton. But yeah, I would agree. I think everyone's just a little flat. I mean, and part of that's just the end of the tournament. It's been a long tournament.
yeah, for sure. Especially, it sucks that they have to have the final like 3 days after the semifinals, and you go like 120 minutes
Mm-hmm.
after it's been like a month of games in quick succession. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
see the best out of the players, but
And then
it's understandable.
The thing is you'll see maybe try and rotate a little bit, and you're like, well, everyone else is just gassed. We got to throw this guy on here. He's world class.
Yeah.
He hasn't played that much, though. He's not in form as much as other guys.
Yeah.
And I think we'll talk about that later. But wrapping up the end of the game, a little back and forth, mainly still in favor of Italy towards the end. Main thing I noticed Chiesa going down. That gave England a little bit of hope. A little bummer for Italy having to take him off. He's been so good this tournament, been their main attacking
he had
piece.
a couple chances in this game too.
Yeah, that one shot he had was insane. I think that was around like the 35th minute or whatever. He like that jostling for position with Rice blew past him, and then that shot that went wide.
Yeah.
That was a laser.
Yeah.
Bernardeschi comes on. He's kind of, I don't know. Like they mentioned he didn't have any goals for Juve this year, but I kind of like him. He's a different kind of aspect guy. He hit the post earlier this tournament, so don't mind them bringing him on. And then the Chiellini yellow. We're going to talk about that.
Dude, how is that a yellow?
What do you mean?
How is that not a red?
It's in the middle of the field.
Where he, like,
Yeah.
the meme picture where he's...
So,
dude, that's a red. That's got to be a red.
Handball before the foul, so it shouldn't have even been a foul. On Saka, he touches the ball with his hand, so it shouldn't have even been called.
Regardless, even if that happens like off the field, that's still like violent conduct.
It's a shirt pull.
There's shirt pulls, and then there's like
There's a shirt
that.
pull.
You don't see your everyday shirt pull becoming memes.
I don't want to say this is what England fans brought on with the karma from
Okay,
Denmark,
also,
and they dive for penalties.
Sterling was getting 0 calls.
Yeah, because he tips over, and this ref saw that, so he's like, "Oh."
There was
No.
one. I think there could have been a penalty.
Notice the players who got foul calls for England. There were times where ones were even like questionable, and it's guys like Maguire and stuff on stoppages of plays. It's guys who don't go down and stuff. Sterling has been going down constantly, and then this ref just was like, "No."
Which I think hindered them because I think they could have had a penalty. There was a time that Sterling went down in the box. There was clipping of the legs.
Are you talking about the diving where he's falling forward?
It might have been, but there was a tangle of the legs, and I'm just wondering, like, maybe if that's a different player that gets called, because obviously he's getting nothing called. Most of them didn't deserve to be called.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
it's just one of those reputation things.
Yeah, same with you'll see it with Neymar a lot too. Now, ever since that World Cup, like 2014 World Cup where he's like literally crying on the ground
Yeah.
and stuff. He doesn't get calls like he used to. But anyways, I don't know. He had half the pitch to run, and there are 2 defenders, and he's still got to beat the keep. I don't think they.
I don't think of it as like a denial of clear goal scoring opportunity. I just see it as like violent conduct.
I mean, he grabbed the back of his shirt to keep him from running away. We'll have to agree to disagree.
It was pretty violent.
Well, there's another one that could have been something. We saw a red given earlier in the tournament. Jorginho's yellow, where he's clearly going for the ball. He gets a lot of the ball,
and then
but it slides off with the ball. Yeah, he gets the thigh with the studs. Yeah. You have more of a claim for a red for me on that one then.
Yeah, I thought that could have been a red too, but I understand like the fact
he got like all ball
the ball,
and then it like popped.
Yeah.
Between his, or like I guess it like ricocheted between like his foot, the ball on the ground, and it's hitting Grealish, and it poked out, and then the foot had to go straight down.
I just want to say, if that's Wales, that's a red card.
Well, yeah, that's because Wales are actually the ultimate bad boy. UEFA won't let them win.
The real talking point is Wales.
So the thing is it went from Denmark had all the karma, and then they get kind of screwed over, and then England has all the bad karma, and then they get screwed over in the final. That's my
There was a procession. There was like a procession of the way the games went. So like Switzerland beat
France
in penalties.
Yeah.
Spain beat Switzerland in penalties. Italy beat Spain in penalties.
Yes.
And then Italy beat England in penalties. Weird.
Yeah.
So many penalties.
I mean,
the correct progression would have been that England beats Italy in penalties.
You would have thought. But the karma wasn't on their side for the last game.
Let's talk about it. I mean, not much happened in extra time.
Yeah, there's some subs brought on different guys. I thought Florenzi was out for the tournament. He got hurt in the first game. I thought he was just out. Regardless, so we kind of went past it, but they brought on Grealish, and then at the very end, take off another sub, the sub being subbed out again, Jordan Henderson this time.
Yeah.
Off. You would almost think he might not be the best penalty taker. You want him taking pens necessarily, but just for the fact that he's at least been in Champions League finals and stuff, there has to be some sort of thing going through Southgate's mind where he's like, all right, this guy at least has been in big moments. Maybe, keep him on the field in case we have to. But they bring on 2 guys, and I get this reasoning too. You bring in 2 guys that are main penalty takers on big clubs. Rashford was the main penalty taker. It's not like he got replaced as the main penalty taker because he was bad. It's just Fernandes is
better.
Yeah, he's just the main guy. And then Sancho, I guess Dortmund, they always had Royce take penalties. And what am I looking at here?
This is
all the guys that didn't take many.
No, this is the whole team and their penalties scored first taken.
You want to read it off? I can't read. I've never learned.
Well, I'll read it off. I just want to make a point about the substitutions. So, on paper, it makes sense that you're bringing in guys who should, on paper, be better penalty takers.
With that said, can I add one thing before you make your point?
Okay, go.
These are 2 guys, I was saying earlier, they may be good penalty takers. They may be world-class players. They were not playing. They're not in form. They really hadn't got a feel for the tournament. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. Not so much the tournament. I was just going to say the game.
Yeah, that's fair too.
I will say it was pretty funny watching Rashford play as a fullback.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, they had maybe a touch or 2, and then all of a sudden they're taking penalties. You haven't even had a good feel for the ball. So anyways, the penalties scored versus taken from the players. You have Kane at the top, 44 out of 51.
Mm-hmm.
He's picked to go first. That makes sense. You want to have a good start.
Yes.
Next, you have Rashford, 13 out of 15. So Makes sense
Yeah.
for the substitution. Next, you have a bit of a drop-off. You have Harry Maguire, 5 of 9.
I can't believe he's taking 9.
I can't either. That must have been at like Hull or something.
Yeah, or even lower.
Sterling, 4 of 9. Mount, 4 of 5. Sancho, 5 of 5. So that sub makes sense. Trippier, 2 of 4. Henderson, 1 of 3. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Calvin Phillips, 2 of 3. Grealish, 1 of 2. Rice, 1 of 2. Pickford, 1 of 1.
When was that?
That must have
Sunderland
been-
days.
No, was that in the last Euros?
Could have been.
I don't know. Shaw, 1 of 1. Stones, 1 of 1. Walker, 1 of 1. Saka, 0 of 0.
Oh, man.
So anyways, Southgate decides to go with the strongest guys he has first. Well, Kane, and then he goes Maguire, and then it was Rashford, Sancho,
and Saka. So just quick run through. Berardi makes his. Kane makes his. Bolatti with a miss. Massive save by Pickford.
Yeah.
Massive. Maguire scores with literally the perfect penalty ever. I'm sure we've all seen the video of where he just breaks the camera.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was like perfect. And then he got the crowd hyped. Bonucci with a very good penalty that Pickford almost he guessed the right way and his hand was like near the ball.
Yeah.
You give him that, man. Pickford was on. The Rashford miss, pretty unlucky off the post.
Well, you would say unlucky. I wouldn't say unlucky because I absolutely hate the stupid run up where
And
you
then
do the
pause.
like little
Yeah.
tiptoe, like waiting for the goalkeeper to move somewhere,
And then you pause.
and then you
And
hit
then
the
you-
post.
Drag it too far.
I don't know the stats on this. This is just like recency bias or something, but it feels like when people do that, they have a higher percentage of missing.
I'll just always remember the Zaza penalty. Was that last Euros or was that just like a random Italy game where
No, that
Simone
was-
Zaza?
That was last Euros. Yeah, that was one of the
That
worst
was-
penalties ever.
That was awesome. That was so awesome. Everyone should be forced to have to kick the ball like that. Run up like a million steps just to miss. That was so good. After that miss, Bernardeschi scores, so he makes it 3-2. And then Sancho misses.
Yeah,
It-
everyone
it
was going
wasn't-
to the right side too. Like, someone kicked to the left, please.
Well, Rashford went left.
That's true.
And
But most of them
rang
were
it.
to the right.
Yeah.
The ones
no,
that
that's
were
true.
saved.
I agree. The Sancho one just wasn't that good.
No, easily savable.
Yeah. Jorginho, the ultimate penalty taker, the Babe Ruth of penalty taking these days.
Yeah, you're thinking at this point the game's over because he's up.
It was honestly an amazing penalty, and it was an even better save by Pickford
Yeah.
to just get enough to put it on the post.
Yep. And not
And then
bump it back in.
England
With the save.
with the ultimate rug pull, if there ever was one. Bukayo Saka, 19-year-old.
All the pressure.
Yep.
Got to
and
score.
he just doesn't have a good penalty, and it's saved.
To the right again.
Yeah, Donnarumma walking off. I genuinely don't think he thought that the penalties was over. He walked away so cool. I couldn't believe it. So you want to talk about the choices, or you just want to talk about the Saka? Because I don't put it on Saka.
No.
And I
not
mean,
at
Southgate, you can only do so much. You can only make guys go up there that want to go up there. If you don't want to go up there, I don't want you taking it. But honestly, I mean, because it came out after that, like, Grealish said he wanted to. And it came out that, like, Sterling, I guess I didn't see anything about Sterling, but a lot of people criticizing him. It's like, where is he at?
Well, Sterling, I can see because 4 of 9, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, but Ari was 5 of 9.
Yeah, but
And he's a center back.
he's a different kind of guy, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
You-
I don't put any of it on Saka. That's all I'll say. Even though it wasn't a good penalty, he's 19. He's more defensive minded, which, I mean, doesn't truly indicate about penalties. Anyone could take penalties. But I don't blame him. I blame either Southgate for not really installing the confidence in these guys to take penalties for the world or the Euros. And I blame these players. How do you not want to?
Yeah, I'm more of a more apt to blame the players, because if you see that Saka is going fifth, like the most important spot that there is, and you're one of the senior players or more senior players,
Yeah.
you should be saying,
Give me
"No,
that.
I can take this.
Yeah.
I'm more experienced." But I understand the element of having Saka take it, because Saka has shown that like the pressure doesn't get to him.
Yeah. But this
and if he
pressure
would have
was-
scored,
Yeah, then it would prove it. But this pressure was the pressure of all pressures. Literally, you have to score this against the guy who's been amazing this tournament, player of the tournament.
and really, there's such a huge drop off. Like, there's not guys with good penalty.
There's not a ton of
Records on
experience.
here.
Yeah, we just read it. There's not
It's
a
like-
ton. So it's
Your top 3, top 4, and then it's like huge drop off, and everyone's taking like 1 or
that's
2.
what I was questioning when people were talking about guys. I just have an inkling to like go towards more attacking guys and guys who are in finishing positions more often. And then, like I
Yeah.
said, it doesn't make it like that's the right way to go, and you have to go with that rather than defenders. But like some people are clamoring for like Shaw to take it, and it's like I don't like what was Shaw's on that. He didn't take many.
He was 1-1. Yeah,
Okay,
I was
so he took
thinking
one.
Grealish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Grealish and Sterling were the main guys where it's like, really now?
But then again, you have Maguire, who had the best penalty of everyone.
Yeah, and he's a center back, so who knows? They should have had Pickford take it.
Dude, that would have been amazing.
It's all about vibes.
All about
That's what we
vibes.
learned from this tournament. And if you're going in with dead meme vibes, you're not going to win. You're not going to have a good time.
But you just knew, like, after Rashford and Sancho missed, like,
It was probably that's too much.
yeah. When you bring in guys solely to make penalties,
Mm-hmm.
and then they miss,
it's a killer.
some bad juju.
It
Ruins
really
the
is.
vibes.
It really does. Who would you say was the man of the match, just to wrap this up? Because there's some really good players this game.
It's a tough one. It's kind of like the combination of Bonucci and Chiellini together. Like, if you fuse them as one player together,
Yeah. They're literally every pass they had that was over the top or just a long ball was always perfect.
yeah.
It was never going out or anything. I would probably go with Verratti, who we'll get to it about our awards and whatnot, but
Yeah.
he was incredible. 112 of 119 passing, able to win the ball, controlled 11% of all possession in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when Italy took over in the 30th minute or whatever, like, he was running the midfield
Yeah.
and just overwhelmed the English midfield completely.
Yeah. And that's not a knock against Rice and Phillips, because they've been really good, and we'll talk about them when we get to the team of the tournament and stuff, because they played amazing. But
To me, I
It's-
more wanted to see Shaw and Trippier not sit so far back and push more into the midfield to kind of help get some more numbers in the midfield.
the playing not to lose by England, it's undeniable that happened, rather than play to win. I think you're right. If you're playing to win, you have Sean Trippier, obviously not crazy far forward, but a little more elevated than the back three, and you're able to kind of press more in the mid and take away those spaces.
Yeah.
Don't allow the link-up play and to get it out wide, which
Mhm.
they're doing, and then cut it central. So I agree. It was a little, as defensive as England have been this tournament, and they've been good doing it. They never just sat back and were like, all right, let's protect the lead for sure and stuff. It was more like, this is our strength and we'll play through it, but that's going to push our attack forward and really make our attack better.
Yeah.
This time there was no outlet balls.
Right.
There was no way to get any attack going. And that's not even necessarily on Kane and Sterling as much as I've harped on them this tournament. It's distribution from other guys. There was just no time under this Italian pressing.
Yeah.
I can tell you're sad.
55 years, we'll come back and when England makes it to the next one.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, we're staring at a picture of
Jorginho holding the cup in some Puma slides, and he looks ridiculous. He looks like a little monkey.
He's like Schmeagol with the ring.
Pretty much. It's coming to Rome. That was more of South America, but
well, he is Brazilian. So.
He is Brazilian. With apparently his grandfather played for Italy or something. Or not played, but it was
his grandfather ate a piece of pizza once.
Yeah,
and he said, arrivederci.
That's so great how guys just leave Brazil for like European nations, like Diego Costa too for Spain.
That was the biggest one. Like, this dude's not Spanish.
Yeah, that was so funny. Major takeaways from either side. I feel like Italy was probably the best team and it was well deserved, and England was, I thought, the second best team. I thought this was at least a final where it wasn't like a fluke. I think if Denmark got through, it would have been a fluke. Let's just be honest.
For sure.
I think if Spain got through, or even you go back, even as good as France and stuff are, I think it would have been a fluke. Maybe even Belgium would have been a fluke. I think Italy, England were the two best teams.
Yeah, for sure.
They're the deepest. They had the most quality in their starting 11s.
Now, let me ask you this. How much of the blame do you put on Gareth Southgate? Because there's a lot of people out there who are very upset and blame him solely for the loss.
You can't blame a manager solely, but I mean, he puts the team together. He picks the vision for, he sees the game. He's like, this is how it's going to play out. This is how we need to play in order to beat this team. And it came out and it worked strong in the first part, and then he just got too complacent and he thought that he could sit back. And it's almost like England must have had this idea where it's like, oh, well, if we need to get going again, we'll flip a switch and we can just start attacking. And Italy's like, no. That's not how this works. This is our game now. We have control of it. So, and as far as the pens and stuff, like I said, on paper, it makes sense to put in Rashford and Sancho. They're attack-minded players that have had success taking penalties, and they're world-class players who've played on big stages. So I don't blame them for that. I blame them more for, I guess, if we're just going to narrow it down, play style, playing not to lose, and then substitution timing. Certain guys should have been on sooner when other guys were completely gassed, and you could see the game was completely shifted to the point that there was no way back.
Yeah.
That's what I would put on them.
The thing is, though, for me, I look at this and I look at this tournament as a whole when evaluating Gareth Southgate. Yes, in the final, I agree. He made mistakes. He was too conservative.
Cope. Don't do it.
He was too conservative, for sure. But guess what? That starting lineup, it worked great. They were playing well, and then they scored. And then they needed to change the system, which is hard to do in the final, to say when you're up 1-0 and you're going to put on an attacking player and take off a defender. Like, it sounds a little counterintuitive. But look at the tournament as a whole. From day one, Gareth Southgate was making decisions that everyone disagreed with, not including Sancho in the lineup, playing 4 at the back, playing 5 at the back, whatever.
Throw Saka in,
completely untested. But guess what? Almost every single one of those times, he proved that it was the right decision. And to that, I say that is major props to you for being able to change this system based on the opponents and have it be so effective. I give him a lot of kudos.
I think it's safe to say that these are the second and third best managers of the tournament behind Frank de Boer. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's, like I said, 2 best teams, 2 best managers of the tournament, I think. And
I'm just saying that he's getting a lot of undeserved hate because he brought them to the final.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're going to criticize someone, you have to highlight the times that they got it right.
You got to look at their strength, all the things they did well, and all the things that they didn't get well. And, I mean, what matters in the end is winning, so it's unfortunate. But he didn't completely, I wouldn't say completely messed up with the game entirely even. It's not like he got it completely wrong. They came out, they got the lead. It's just he kind of let it slip away in the end, and some of the decisions didn't
It
work
just,
out
it
perfectly.
just happened that the biggest game where he had mistakes was the most important one against the toughest team.
Yeah, but even in other games, he had some questionable subs and stuff too. They just didn't get highlighted because they won.
That's fair.
So it'll always be as much. There's always, we've talked about this before. There's always two ways to look at it: performance or result. Most general fans look at result because that's what it's all about. It's about winning or losing. And I think a lot more of people that are around the sport and highly involved in the sport care more about performance at times and stuff. And I mean, we were having this conversation about Spain too. It's like the performance was great, but you didn't get the result, and that's going to come with a lot of blame for Luis Enrique and those players, and that's unfortunately what'll probably happen with England too.
The issue I have is that Gareth Southgate brought these guys to a final for the first time in 55 years. And if they win the final, he's a hero and he gets knighthood. If they lose, then he's a complete fraud. It's not as black and white as that.
Well, you know, when you're coming from a country that's had a manager in Big Sam, everyone's gonna look like the biggest fraud that's ever come because they're all gonna lose. And you know who never lost?
Big Sam.
Big Sam never lost.
Never.
He's
Zero.
literally always vindicated at every given point. As sad as he might have been yesterday that they lost, he was sitting there eating a pie, and deep down he had a smile because he knew that he's the greatest of all time. Oh man.
So let's transition away from this disappointment.
The final.
Let's talk about this tournament as a whole.
Do you want to start with surprise?
Yeah.
Biggest surprise of the tournament?
Biggest
/ breakout?
Are we talking teams or individuals?
Just, you could do either one, I would say.
Some obvious ones would be Denmark as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But looking further into Denmark, I would say Damsgaard. Looks like a great young talent.
Yeah.
Mala looked
Yeah,
excellent in the wingback position.
Mm-hmm. I would say surprise for me, assuming we're going to say surprise is a good thing, and if we'll touch on disappointments and stuff too. But as far as a surprise, I honestly have kind of a good amount of them, but they're all like kind of minor ones. Just to touch on them real quick, Dan James' performance, Vermeulen's resurgence out of absolutely nowhere. Ukraine actually converting on their just kind of magic goals that we talked about might happen, and they did. Surprise. I wouldn't say Sweden were that much of a surprise. I'd say Hungary is kind of just a surprise in general because they kind of gave some teams away. I would say the biggest surprise for me as a team was the Czechs. That was the Czechs. They might only got to the quarters, and they pushed Denmark to the brink, but, I mean, they're close to a semis, and I had them finishing bottom of the group.
I would say Switzerland for me, just because of like how they played in the group stage, barring the one game against Turkey. Like, they were not impressive at all, and then they come out and get a massive win against France.
Yeah. If we're talking about surprising player, obviously Saka, obviously Damsgaard.
Schick,
Patrick Schick establishing himself again. I'd say those were probably like just the main players and stuff. Any major disappointments for you off the top? Because I can rattle a few off.
I would say Spain, personally. Their terrible finishing, like having to rely on Morata, that was awful. We knew this was coming, but Poland, obviously with Lewandowski.
We should do it relative to surprised us. Because I don't think because we talked about, we didn't think Spain were real contenders, and we definitely didn't think Poland were getting through their turn or their group.
in that regards, then I would say France, because they were very disappointing.
Yeah, they had all the talent in the world, and
but then it comes out that everyone pretty much hates each other, so it's not that surprising.
yeah, it's just more surprising that it happened like that. As far as biggest disappointing team, and we said this before the tournament, they were kind of in that bracket of Spain and stuff, but Portugal, just for how poor they looked at times, like they looked like inexcusably poor on defense and attack. A lot of times they just couldn't get anything going. It was so strange.
Yeah, they were.
I didn't expect them to win. I didn't expect, even probably semis, but I can't believe how poor they looked.
They were the case of like the parts don't equal a greater whole kind of thing. It's like on paper, these are great players.
It's a FIFA Ultimate Team.
It's a FIFA Ultimate Team, exactly, but they don't work well together. And the only way they succeed is when they play like gritty defensive football.
Yeah. And then for my player, biggest disappointment, I genuinely don't think it's even in consideration. It's Mbappe.
Yeah. He was invisible.
You want to tell me he's Messi? You want to tell me he's Ronaldo?
No.
Not yet.
No.
Maybe one day. Not yet.
Yeah, he didn't show that capability of just carrying the team.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about Ronaldo, and he had some pens and stuff, but I mean, at least he put up a tally.
Yeah.
Of a good amount of goals.
He ended up as the leading goal scorer, I believe.
Tied with Lord Patrick Schick.
Tied with Schick.
But yeah, it's
pen merchant Ronaldo.
It really was, but still, as we've seen with penalties in this tournament, nothing's a guarantee, I guess.
That's true.
Next quick topic. I mean, we could do best and worst managers. We kind of touched on that with these being the two best ones. Was there someone besides De Boer that stood out to you that really you thought kind of got it wrong? I mean, Deschamps for me.
You could say Deschamps, but then I think of it as like the players just hate each other, so it doesn't matter.
His tactics were pretty poor. Would you throw Love out there, Liv?
Yeah, I would say so, because their tactics were super uninspiring if you exclude the game against Portugal, which
Portugal literally just gave them a free lane.
Yeah, they rolled out the red carpet, but otherwise, Germany looked like they had like no clue going forward. Serge Gnabry and Leroy Sané looked terrible. They didn't work well together.
Yeah, to say the least. To say the least.
Just really bad.
Like, I get having like some of your best play come from your wing backs. When it's your main attack is coming from them, and then no one's able to really finish besides one of the German frauds, Kai Havertz.
Yeah. What
are you gonna do? I mean, Gnabry runs the Farmers League that is the Bundesliga.
That he does.
Sané, he can't even run the Bundesliga.
Nope.
Peak of the tournament, or like match of the tournament, I'd probably say
round 16
was the best. Yeah, I would say that was amazing. There's all the memes involved there.
That's kind of the best spot, because it's like guys are in form because they've played matches, but it's not so far into the tournament that they're just exhausted.
Yeah, and you still don't have you still have a good amount of like the decent teams. There might be like one or two teams that are like, oh man, this team's not going to do anything, but
yeah. And you haven't had to play 120 minutes 5 times in a row.
If you had to pick one match though, what would you say was the most enjoyable match to you?
One match.
I think for me, mine was Italy-Belgium.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Spain-Switzerland, that was also very exciting.
Yeah. Or even the Spain-Croatia, the 5-3.
That was just
extravaganza.
Like chaos.
France-Switzerland, probably a close second for me.
Oh yeah, I meant France-Switzerland, not
I was gonna say the one where Shaqiri had like 2 shots all game and Shaqiri scored one because they left it by.
I misspoke.
Yeah, I mean, just a terrific tournament. So many guys. If there's one non-Premier League guy that's like feasible, in the tournament, who would you want to see in the Premier League next year? Because like you can't say like Verratti, like he's not leaving PSG. This is a tough one.
I mean, any of the Atalanta guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could pick like any of them.
True. I think I'm gonna go with Isak because he was kind of one of the bigger surprises that really stepped up. I'd like to see him bagging some goals in the Premier League.
You could even say like Forsberg.
Yeah.
Not for like
we'll get the
a top team, but you know.
Yeah, he could make Everton like a whole lot better, and honestly, he'd probably be fine on a team like Tottenham too.
Yeah.
So
that's the same range I was thinking of as well.
Did you have any other talking points besides team of the tournament? We'll go through that and player of the tournament. That's all I really had. I know that you get the creative juices going for this sometimes.
I'm just sad. I'm just sad they lost.
I don't know. It's the only time I didn't hate this England squad. Don't get me wrong. It's just more so when there's certain guys where I don't really like their play style. I don't want to cheer for them as much. I would probably say I was cheering for England much more than say Germany, Spain, definitely Portugal and France. I'd say and the other ones I'm cheering for that are over them are like underdogs. It's like Wales and stuff. It's not like.
I think the only player on England that I like dislike watching is Sterling.
Yeah.
Just because of the like.
Tell me about
the whining and like always complaining.
Yeah, it's him. As a fan of a team that I won't say because I don't want to give away I want to keep it anonymous what team I support because I try to be as least biased as possible. Kane bothers me only because he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good.
I wish we got to see a full strength Kane. I don't think we saw the best of Kane in this game.
Not to mention, I forgot how much I like Harry Maguire I like him a little less now he's on United. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, we're in agreement with this, but people talk about Harry Maguire like he's some scrub. Like he's obviously one of the best center backs in the world.
It's because he had some meme tier moments to start at Man U.
Yeah.
And plus he used to be at Hull. He used to be at Leicester, smaller clubs, so people don't think that like.
Also, he's English.
Yeah, true. Oh, he's just Phil Jones. No one says that, but you know that there actually is someone out there who says that. Yeah, I love me some Grealish. Don't get me wrong, and I think maybe you wouldn't be surprised, even though you know me well. You know I'm not a huge Sancho guy.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Sancho guy either.
I do like Jude. I like Mings. Reece James is
Surprising that Chilwell didn't play a single
Connor
minute.
Cody guy.
Connor Cody.
Should have subbed him on for Pens. Go with the all center back lineup.
Yeah.
Pens.
Tyrone Mings, Connor Cody, Ben White.
Then it would have worked out, and then that would have been the ultimate. Southgate is an absolute genius. He solved football. He put all the center backs on the Big Pens.
First goes Pickford.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Do you want to get to your team of the year? Did you pick one, or you just want to go through one that I made?
Yeah, I didn't really pick one. The ones I saw looked reasonable.
I have
a mix of a lot of
English and Italian guys.
And English.
Yeah, which I sprinkled in a little more. And let's make it clear, I made mine to where it's actually logical. I'm not putting a front three of Lukaku, Ronaldo, and,
Lewandowski.
Yeah, it's like, well, that makes no sense. Yeah. So the team for keeper, this is really tough. And I put together a secondary team, so we have other stuff, but just let me know what you think about this. So I did end up going with Donnarumma. I think I would have went with him even before the final, but Pickford had a little struggle with distribution, but I mean, he came through and they needed him most, so I had to consider him. Schmeichel wasn't all that great. I think it might be a little inflated because of that England game. He went nuts. But before that, he was just like, he was okay. He let
There
some
were
in
definitely some that he could have saved.
exactly. That's how I feel. Stats-wise, it showed that like Hradecki made a bunch of saves that weren't expected, but I mean it was Finland, so that's kind of why I went with Donnarumma. Oh, and Sommer for that one game where he made like a bunch of saves.
Yeah,
I thought maybe him, but
yeah.
I decided not to. For the right back, couple options: Male and Schufall. And I went with Schufall just because he did so much on defense in terms of tackling and interceptions, and he had so much input on their attack, which Mala did too. But his Schufall's was a little more efficient, I guess.
Can I just ask, what is the formation of your...
Mine's going to be a 4-3-3.
Okay.
Just
so that changes things.
Yeah. So, Schufall, Maguire,
Yeah.
Bonucci. Other center backs I considered really Dave, Chiellini, and I wanted to go with the backup of Vertonghen or Alderweireld, but I didn't know which one really played better. They both kind of played like the same, and Belgium's defense was just solid enough during the tournament.
Yeah.
It wasn't like outstanding.
Yeah.
It was just like, meh. Left back, the man who, if England won, absolutely deserved player of the tournament, Luke Shaw.
Yeah, for sure.
Had to be him, even though there were a lot of good left backs. So I went Shaw. Spinazzola. Zuber had some moments for Switzerland. He led an assist. Torgan Hazard scored like twice on like 4 shots and had a bunch of good play in terms of shot creations. And then Mr. Alba of Spain.
Yeah.
The left back, it was loaded, but Luke Shaw just too good.
Too good, the fat man.
How about Mourinho coming out today saying, "Where's Luke Shaw to take the bench?" He's such a troll. Literally
Dude,
didn't play the guy.
Don't do him like that.
Literally didn't play the guy. Acted like he was worthless, and then he comes out in a European final. Like, "Where's this guy, huh?"
Mourinho, the biggest wind-up merchant.
Absolutely. So my midfield 3. This was tough. Verratti for sure. And we'll just say it now. He was my player of the tournament. Verratti. Forsberg. I think he was tied for second in goals, and he also had 1 assist, I believe. He was just creating a bunch of chances for him. Hit the post a few times against Ukraine. Great tournament. And I can't believe this, because you know that I just don't rate him in terms of the Premier League. But I went with Højbjerg.
Interesting.
For as much as he did in terms of tackling and interceptions, but then he had such an important role in their attack without Eriksson. It was he was a really well-rounded player. He's a more rounded player than I thought he ever was.
That's fair. Yeah.
Here's who just missed: Kevin De Bruyne, who obviously was still very good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Pedri/Olmo. I couldn't really choose which one. I guess I would have went Pedri just because he's more efficient. Olmo created chances, but
more of a forward.
I guess he's more like a false 9, but I always view him as a 10. Barella, amazing tournament. Rice and Phillips deserve a shout. One of those two. I'd probably go Phillips barely, just because I felt he was the player that match again in the Croatia-England game.
I think Phillips went pretty under the radar in this tournament. He did a lot of work, but it's not like stuff that really gets the headlines.
There was so much asked of him and Rice that it's truly unbelievable that nobody, even the people giving shout-outs to nobody's talking about the job Rice and Phillips did holding down the midfield.
Yeah.
Truly incredible job. Shaqiri, Thomas Delaney, and I sprinkled a little bit of Zinchenko. Not much Zinchenko, but a little bit.
That's fair.
Give him a little shout. The top 3, it's kind of weird because he came up with the big goals, but he didn't, or like big plays, I guess, for him. but it wasn't like he was always doing it from the get-go. Chiesa.
Yeah.
I feel like he just kind of had to be there because he was their main guy down the stretch.
Yep.
Other guys I thought about for that specific wing was Depay and Yarmolenko, who also had very good tournaments. For my forward, you can hate all you want, people. It's Patrick Schick.
Yes!
It's Patrick Schick. It's not Ronaldo. It's Patrick Schick. Thought there were so many good strikers, and for Schick to get there, and it's not just the goals. He was doing a lot too, besides scoring. So Benzema and Lukaku and CR7 and Seferovic even got a consideration from me. And then for the last wing, it's got to be Insigne.
Raheem Sterling.
Yes, Insigne. A couple other attackers I just kind of put down, but they weren't really ever truly in consideration. Fernand Torres, Kulishevsky, Isak, and then Bale. I thought Bale did pretty decent. He just not much he could do in the round of 16 game.
Right.
So, any big changes you'd make to that? Named a whole lot of guys, just threw it right at you. The final team was Donnarumma, Schufal, Maguire, Bonucci, Shaw, Verratti, Højbjerg, Forsberg, Chiesa, Schick, Insigne.
I'm not sure I'd change anything on that. No.
It's all pretty fair, I'd say. You could easily make claims for other guys.
Yeah, it's all, 6 on one.
I even had
on
Sterling, and I didn't have Kane, but I did have Sterling as a consideration.
Okay.
Even though Kane probably was a better player in the tournament and did more. But
I think so.
What are you going to do? Oh, man. Well, it's over. The Euros. And now we're on to the Premier League. We're back. The Hawaiian shirts are off.
Yeah, they're off. The lads are
We're sunburned.
back home.
We're sunburned.
Very sunburned.
We are sunburned.
Slightly in pain. Emotionally broken.
Yeah, broke up with a fit Middle East, like European bird.
Some Ukrainian chick. She went home with Luigi.
Yeah.
We're just sad. But you know what? When we're sad, you know what we fall back to? The Premier League.
Yeah, we fall back to the Premiership. We're going to get going here in a couple days. Going to have our first kind of transfer roundup. Oh, boys, there's been a lot of news, Sam.
It's getting spicy, and it's only going to get spicy.
Oh, it's only going to get spicier as we go throughout the rest of summer. And then how many weeks till the Premier League?
Well, I know Arsenal starts their preseason like next week or something.
Let me look this up before we depart.
So probably like 4 weeks.
Yeah,
like around the 12th
it's the
or
13th.
Something?
So literally we're a month away.
Yeah.
We're a month away. We're going to have a lot of transfer episodes coming out and just news in general stuff. Talk about potential rumors and whatnot. And then we're going to have some nice in-depth breakdowns, previewing teams this year, their outlook going into next season, what we can expect of them in the 2021-2022 Premier League season.
That's all for now. Bye. He's coming to Rome.